بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على الأتمان الأكملان على خير خلق الله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. What could be better for us to come together and do than sit in the masjid and greet each other, ask how we're doing, check on each other's families. The simple act of expressing to your brother, whether he's older than you, younger than you, same age as you, good to see you. How's your family? It's a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to see you. A blessing that many of us take for granted. And we know for sure that death is a reality of life. Sometimes death comes before life. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم إلى آخر الآيات. Allah mentions that He created death and life. And Allah mentions كيف تكفرون بالله, how can you disbelieve in Allah? وكنتم أمواتا, and you were dead. Then He gave you life. So many of us aren't around. Some brothers died of old age, natural causes. Some people have their lives taken from them. I'm sure each and every one of you have a son or a cousin or an uncle or somebody that was shot or hit by a car or heart attack. Someone died. In most cases, talking about violence. Let alone the concept of waliyadu billah. Worse than that, some people may leave Islam, may relinquish their religion, refuge and sought in Allah from that. And some people may keep their religion. They don't lose their lives, but they may not be interested in going to the masjid, or they might not be interested in practicing Islam. And there's a whole list of other reasons why you won't necessarily see someone in the masjid. So to see your brother in the masjid, to greet him, ask how he's doing, he asks how you're doing, etc., that's a tremendous blessing. And many of us will take it for granted. And the time that you pull up to the masjid or walk to the masjid until you leave the masjid is full of hasanat, full of sunnah practices. Shaking your brother's hand. What did the Prophet say about that? When two Muslims shake hands, sins fall from them like leaves fall from a tree. What a beautiful, simple, tangible example. When the wind blows, that's why they call it fall, because leaves fall. You shake your brother's hand, simple act. Doesn't take much energy or time or money. Sins fall from you. You smile in your brother's face. You ask your brother if he wants something to drink or eat. You accompany your brother. You have security, protect your brother. You rub a young boy's head. How you doing? There's so much sadaqah that you get just by coming to the masjid. That's not including wudu. That's not including miswak. That's not including the sunnah prayers. That's not including the congregational prayers. That's not including seeking Allah's forgiveness, making tasbih, making tahleel. That's not including learning and benefiting. And there's so much good you get just by coming to the masjid. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he informed us and he told us that there will be people in the day of judgment who will be protected and kept safe. And they'll have a special place when other people are not being protected and are not being kept safe. They'll be terrified on the day of judgment about those 7 types of people. And from among them, he says, وَرَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ is a man whose heart is mu'allaq, is stitched and sewn to the masjid. It's attached to the masjid like crazy glue, gorilla glue. It's very hard to remove it. So that's a virtue of being always in the masjid, especially after Salat al-Maghrib, and when the daytime is no more, and now it's the nighttime. And we know it takes place when the nighttime comes. And you can be protected from so much evil. Forget the good that you get, as I just mentioned. But you can be protected from so much evil just by being in the masjid. Especially after Salat al-Maghrib, before Salat al-Isha. You can be protected from evil. And this is one of the virtues of studying and seeking knowledge and teaching classes. 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be in the masjid after Salat al-Maghrib. From Maghrib to Isha, most cases, that schedule is taken. Eating, working out, going here, I'm in the masjid. Every single day, from Maghrib to Isha. Guaranteed. Fajr, I may pray and leave. Dhuhr, I may be at work. Asr, I may be at work. But for sure, you're going to see me in the masjid for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours on a daily basis. that does something to you and for you, and there are many benefits in that. So what could be better than Muslims congregating? Let alone if the Muslims have the intention and the purpose of seeking knowledge and learning of Al-Islam, let alone seeking knowledge of the hadith of the Prophet and to be reminded of what you already know, and to be enlightened and taught about that which you don't know about, and to be inquisitive and to ask, and the list goes on. The Muslim can't lose. The Muslim is never ever a loser. As the Prophet says, "Ajaban li amri al-mu'min." The believer's affair is beyond marvelous. Ajab. It's amazing. There's nothing that can happen to you that's bad and negative, because you can always take something good from it. You can always take good from it. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, we will commence our study of Nawawi's 40 Hadith, the famous book, the 40 Hadith of Nawawi. And before we get started, there are two versions and 2 times in which I've explained the book. You can find them. One is on our channel, HadithDisciple, and another is on the channel of our brother, inshallah, the graduate of Islamic University of Medina, brother Sajid Lipum, on his channel, Institute. You can find the accelerated version, Mukhtasar, Sharh Sari'an, and the full version is on our channel, HadithDisciple. So if you want to prepare for the classes, or get the other fawaid, or be ahead, or whatever you want to do, you can go back to those 2 playlists. One is a 21-part playlist that we did some years ago in Medina, and another one is 57-minute video in which the whole book is explained in brief. It's accelerated. So please go back to those 2 playlists, and I believe that I've shared the link. So the brothers, they can have access, and the sisters as well, if you want to check out the previous explanation of the book. Khair, inshallah. Before we get started with the actual book, I want to refresh myself and refresh and remind each and every one of you of the proper etiquette and of the manners of a circle of hadith and the manners of a circle of ilm, sitting in a halaqah for ta'lim or bayan, whatever words you use. Different Muslims, different cultures and orientations, they have different words that they use for a lecture or a study circle. Some cultures, they call it ijtima, or they may say a talim, or a bayan, or a das, or a halakah, or a halaqah. Different people speak different ways, and they use different terms, all meaning the same thing. And this is extremely important before we even get into the book. Before we even start and begin with the first hadith or the last hadith, we have to go over this. Then, I wish to remind and refresh each and every one of you of the adab, the etiquette and the manners regarding the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When you hear those hadiths, what is the proper way of dealing with those hadiths? How should you behave? How are you to sit? How are you to listen? How are you to implement and act, etc., etc. One of the early Muslims, he said, "Man talaba hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, faqad talaba a'la al-umur, fayajibu an yakuna khayra an-nas." Or kama qala. He would say, the student of hadith, the one who's learning a book of hadith or sitting in a circle of hadith, he's went after the pinnacle, the peak, the best of the best. You're studying the best thing in Islam. So he has to be khayrun nas, the best of the people. And obviously, this is an example. Me telling you this is like a doctor that you see, right? Smoking a cigarette. The doctor, he's smoking a cigarette outside of the hospital. He's the one that you go to for lung cancer. He's the one who gives you advice on medicine and what not to eat and what not to do, but he's smoking. In other words, he's doing something bad. He's not doing everything he's supposed to be doing, but he's still an expert on the field, giving you the knowledge. So I'm saying this to myself first and foremost, is that he who seeks hadith, who's learning hadith, is supposed to be the best of the people. His character is supposed to be impeccable, exquisite, immaculate. There's no one to come and say this person's a liar, this person's a womanizer, this person's greedy, this person's stingy, this person's selfish, this person's disrespectful, this person's rude, this person is whatever bad quality. He's supposed to be the best of the best because he's going after the best of the best. The best of the best. So there is an etiquette and there are manners of a circle of hadith. Some of them are general for any class that you're sitting in. Any halaqah that you're in, studying the Quran, tafsir, lugha, fiqh, usul, whatever you're doing, there's an etiquette. But when you're studying the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, you're supposed to be from among the elite. And that is supposed to shine and radiate in your character. Not in what you say, but in what you do. How you conduct yourself, how you walk, so on and so forth. Khairan, inshallah. And then after that, inshallah, we'll start our discussion with regards to the actual book and its background and its history. What do we know about this book and what don't we know about this book? Because the book is extremely popular. It's one of the most widely circulated books you can find in several languages. But you'll be shocked of many of the basic facts of the book that most people don't know. They don't know where the book comes from, why it was written, what's the purpose of writing a book. Many people, they lack basic facts about 40 hadith. All right? Inshallah ta'ala. Khairan, inshallah. So first and foremost is, we're going to mention some adab. Some of the etiquette or some of the manners of a majlis of ilm, a circle of knowledge, and of a majlis of hadith. Even though we're not actually sitting in a circle. It's maybe a rectangle or a square or whatever it may be, but the concept of a circle. Khairan, inshallah. Tayyib. So before I read some of the things that I've written down, does anyone here have anything that they would like to share? What you know or what you think is something that you should do when you're sitting down to study a book of hadith with a teacher? What are one of the do's or one of the don'ts? One of the do's or one of the don'ts. So no one has to feel shy. If you know, alhamdulillah, if you don't know, but give it a shot. What is something that you should do or something that you must do when you come to a circle of hadith, a majlis of hadith? Fadl Shaykh. You should have wudu. Shaykh says that you should be in a state of wudu. Even if you're not praying, you should be sitting down making a state of wudu. Right. Anyone else? Fadl Akhi.
Take notes.
You should take notes. You should take notes. Tayyib. Anyone else?
Get close to the speaker.
Get close to the speaker. Khairan. Fadl. Go ahead, Akhi.
Bismillah.
Say Bismillah. MashaAllah. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Maybe have the mutton.
Have the metin, have the actual piece of material, the book that's being explained. Tayyib. Anyone else? Fadl.
Good intention.
Good intention. Have a good intention. Tayyib. Anyone else? Fadl Shaykh.
Be quiet.
Should be quiet. Listen attentively. Don't talk. Tayyib. Fadl.
Should not be afraid to, ask questions if they don't understand.
Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be embarrassed or shy or bashful. Ask something for whatever the reason why you're asking, whether you don't know or whatever the case may be. Tayyib.
Seek refuge in Allah from shaitan.
Seek refuge in Allah from the shaitan. Khairan, inshallah. Anyone else? Brothers or sisters, anyone else? Some do's or don'ts. We mentioned things that we should do. Now, what about things that we shouldn't do?
We shouldn't sit separated from
Shouldn't be split up and separated. Tayyib. Fadl.
be speaking.
You shouldn't be speaking. The exact opposite of listening. But sometimes you need both. Sometimes you need both. You're taught as a young child, red light means stop. And the red light means that you don't go. So you stop when you see the red light and you don't go when you see the red light. Vice versa. Very important for the human psyche. Sometimes you need to know what to do and also be taught the exact what? Opposite. Tell you, anything else? Any other don'ts? Things that you shouldn't do in a circle of hadith? Let's switch it up. Leave that. Leave that on the wall.
You shouldn't fall asleep.
Shouldn't fall asleep. Right. Anyone else? Anything else? Anybody else? Khayr, inshallah. All of the answers were fadl.
I heard it's not recommended to have your
Don't intertwine or interlock your hands or your knuckles. Khayr, inshallah. Anything else? Anything else, brothers? Fadl.
Don't debate with the teacher.
Don't debate with the teacher. Don't come to a jousting match. Tayyib, with the teacher. Tayyib. Anything else? Khayr, inshallah. All of the answers, alhamdulillah, in general are very good and very good. I'm going to read the things that I wrote down, and then we'll fill in the gaps and we'll see how good our answers are. Number one is al-ikhlas. Is al-ikhlas. And the word ikhlas in Arabic is oftentimes hard to define in Arabic. In Arabic, it's hard to define the word, let alone in English. There's a general meaning of the word ikhlas, a general root word of the word ikhlas, but the Islamic usage of the word is very difficult. And that's why you find many, many statements of the early Muslims in which they gave examples of what ikhlas is and what it isn't. Now, put that on pause with regards to al-ikhlas and what we heard about having a good intention, which is the next point, which says, sidqun niyya wa tashihuha. is the correct intention and the true intention. The true intention and the correct intention. Making sure that it's right, and if it isn't right, fixing it. Now you may ask the question, isn't that the same thing as ikhlas? Having a good intention? Is that redundant? But there's a difference between the two. A huge difference between the two. I come to a circle of knowledge, a class, only for Allah. I ain't come here for you to see me and praise me and give me a pat on the back. MashaAllah, good to see you. You're so knowledgeable. No. I come here seeking the reward of Allah. That's al-ikhlas. I didn't come here to be seen by men and praised by men. All right? And get worldly gain. To get money or fame or find a wife. If those things come from that, then alhamdulillah. That's from Allah's bounty. But that's not why I'm coming here. Even if I have a contract, I'll come here, I'll do this at this time, you have to compensate me. That still doesn't mean I don't have a class. That's my time, my agreement, my commitment to being here at a time. But I'm doing the class only for Allah. Everyone understand this? Then having a correct intention or a true intention is different. Because you can come to the class just for the reward, but you're not coming to actually learn. You're not coming to actually benefit. You're not coming to actually uplift yourself and remove ignorance from yourself and get rid of your ignorant ways and your ignorant behavior and actually benefiting from the class. That's finely tuned, and that's a bit different. That's a bit different. So many brothers, they may go overseas, an example of this, they go to Medina and they're seeking the face of Allah, inshallah. But they're going to Medina with the intention of learning, studying, helping out their family, making hijrah, and then that's it. They have sincerity. They're not doing it for worldly things, but they don't have the proper intention. And that's because you're supposed to go to Medina with the intention of learning, benefiting your family, and then coming back and spreading the knowledge to the people. You are a leader, whether you like it or not, the moment you accept that scholarship. Whether you like it or not. I'm not no one's role model, you can't say that. If you didn't want to be a role model, you shouldn't have went to the Islamic University of Medina or any other formal institute of ilm. You just want to benefit, learn for yourself, mind your business, love us. But the moment you take that type of knowledge and that degree of ilm and that type of formal training, you don't have the option anymore. You have to give da'wah, you have to teach, you have to make ta'lim. So there is a difference between al-ikhlas and true intention. Everyone understand the difference here? There's a fine difference between the two. Everybody got this? Point number 3. An-nadhafatu wa husnul hay'ah is that you should be clean and you should be neat. Clean and neat. You shouldn't be dirty. You shouldn't be smelling. The class doesn't have to be a fashion show. It doesn't have to be a fashion show, but you should be neat and clean. You shouldn't be smelling. You shouldn't be dirty. You shouldn't have the smell of onion and garlic and these different things on your breath. That shouldn't be the case. All right? And if you have the ability to dress up or to look nice and presentable, then that's even better. And we all know the proof and the evidence for that. Before we talk about the Hadith of Jibreel, just common sense. You go to meet someone. You go to a formal dinner, a formal banquet. You're going to meet the mayor or a congressman or whatever. You're going to try your best to look presentable. Because clothes and what you wear plays a big role on human psychology. A huge role for yourself and for those who look at you. It goes both ways. Number 3, at-tasawwuq wal-intishaq. Your teeth should be brushed. Brush your teeth. And your hair should be combed, brushed, picked, or whatever. Whatever cultural reference. You got an afro, braids, bald head, fade, whatever you got. Whether it's a comb, because everyone doesn't use a comb. Some people use what? A pick. Some people have a what? A brush. But your hair should be tidy. And your teeth should be clean. Your teeth should be clean. Like I said, you shouldn't have bad odor in your breath, and your teeth should be clean. And even if your teeth are clean, you should use the miswak. You should use the toothstick. And I would say, from my travels, this has to be one of the most forgotten and abandoned sunnahs among the Muslims, is the toothstick. Brushing your teeth before prayer, brushing your teeth before wudu. How many of us, if I ask you right now, raise your hand if you have a miswak on you. How many of you will raise your hands? Where's your miswak right now? You're on the sunnah, you claim you're in sunnah, show me your miswak. Simple, easy sadaqah, and the Prophet always used miswak all the time. When Aisha was asked, what's the first thing he would do when he would come home? She said he would brush his teeth. And that's very important for regards to marital bliss. You'd be shocked at the women who complain about their husbands and how they smell. You'd be shocked at the complaints that you get. He comes home and he smells like Allahu Alam. It doesn't take you a lot to brush your teeth to get clean. Wallahi. And you'd be shocked at the effect that it has. Moving forward, after that, we have what? At-tatayyib lil-rijal. is perfuming yourself if you're a man. Perfuming yourself, not a woman. A woman should not perfume herself outside of the house. That is prohibited. The Prophet ﷺ has prohibited that. For a woman to perfume herself outside of the household. Inside the household, you can smell as nice as you wish to smell. In a circle, once you're with the sisters, you're not passing by men, nothing wrong with that. But when you're passing by men and coming in the company of men, no perfume. But men are allowed and encouraged to smell good. Whether you have oil, whether you have cologne, that's an argument. Is it permissible to use cologne, alcohol? I don't know, a fragrance. And I would say this is one of the most widespread sunnahs of the Muslims, alhamdulillah, is oils. And it's the trademark of the old head, the old Muslim brother. It's not an old head that's from the old generation, except that he's going to have what? He shakes your hand, you smell it, right? Whether it's Mawa or Genital Firdaus or sandalwood, Egyptian musk, whatever old school cologne. We're not talking about the age of the Saudi colognes. And I remember when I was a young Muslim, there was only a few brothers that had the real good stuff from overseas. They had a certain swag with them as well. And you ask them, give me some of that. And he would whip it out, a little fancy thing, and put it on your hand, just a dip. But the basic stuff, the Somali rolls and all of that stuff was what? All the time. And the older brothers would always smell good. You would never find an older brother that didn't smell like oil, whatever that may be. Everyone understand this? And that's a good thing. Everyone understand this? And that should also be the case when it comes to a circle of hadith. Next point. Ar-raghbatu fil istifada is that you should have the intention of benefiting. You should go there hungry for knowledge. I don't want to just hear a reminder. I want to actually learn. I want to benefit. I want to get something. I don't want to go home with something tangible. I don't want to just hear someone screaming and talking and rah, blah, 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 saying a bunch of mystical, romantic stuff. But I want to go home with an actual piece of knowledge that I didn't have before I came. Next point. It says here, at-tahdhiru wal-isti'dad is preparation. Prepare for the class. If you know we're doing 40 hadith, bring the metin, as is mentioned. Bring a notebook, bring a pen, bring a recorder. You know what I'm saying this? Read the hadith yourself. Go over the hadith yourself. Go over the old playlist like we said, and you can even get certain you can cheat. Because you see, I know how Mufti is going to explain the class. I know how he does this class. So I'm going to prepare for it. You prepare for the class, and you never come to the class naked. Never come to the class naked. Moving forward, at-tawadhu'. Humble yourself. You should be humble. And that means for everyone. Humble for Allah first and foremost. Humble for the teacher, humble for your classmate, humble for your student. Someone kicks you or steps on you, someone corrects you, someone doesn't call on you, the person doesn't get to your question, whatever it is, humble yourself. Get rid of your ego. Get rid of your ego before you step into the masjid, and if not, before you come into the majlis. Get rid of it, your pride, your arrogance, whatever you think you have. And many people, they don't humble themselves when it comes to knowledge. They think that they're better, or they're bigger, or people owe them something for age, or race, or location where I'm from, or what I did. And the true teacher of knowledge is never someone who holds something over the people's heads. But he's the one who looks at the student as doing him or her a favor. You're doing me a favor by allowing me to teach you, if you only but know. Next point. It says here, I didn't write this in Arabic, empty your cup. Empty your cup. Whether it's literal or whether it's figurative. And there was one brother that I had when I was teaching in Medina. He would come to my house on Fridays, and I would force him to come with an empty coffee mug. With an empty coffee mug. Wallahi. He had to come with an empty cup. And the first time he brought it, and he laughed. And the second time he brought it, and he's like, I get the point. I said, no, keep bringing it. Keep bringing it. Let this be a reminder to you that get rid of what you think you know. Or what you heard, or what this sheikh said, or this brother said, or this person, or no. Come with a what? Empty cup. And that doesn't mean that I'm the only person that can give you knowledge. It doesn't mean that you have to be dumb or stupid to me, no. But it means you're willing to put the things that you've learned to the what? To the side. For the time being, that's it. Let alone there are certain things which you may have been mistaught, or you've been misinformed. That's wrong. 100% wrong. Or 75% wrong. Or you have it mixed up. You have a part of the concept, but you don't have the proper understanding of the concept. Everyone understand this? Next point. Al-iqtirabu wa-dunu'u min al-majlis aw al-halqa is to sit close, as you mentioned, not to be far away from the speaker. Next point. Libs al-abyad lil-rijal is if you're a man, you should wear white. It's not obligatory to wear white, but it's definitely recommended. And there are many benefits in wearing white, which we don't have the time to explain right now, and we've explained them in other places. After that, al-insatu wal-isgha'u wal-istima' is to listen, and not just hear, but to actually what? Listen. Hearing is one thing, listening is another thing. The non-believers, they hear, but Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions that they don't hear. And one may say this is a contradiction in the Quran. Allah mentions that on their ears, fi adhanihim, in their ears, waqar. There's a seal, khatam Allah, there's a seal, a deafness in their ears. They ja'alu asabi'ahum, they stuck their fingers in their ears. Many verses in the Quran that affirm this, that they don't hear. And then other verses that affirm that they turn away when they hear. They turn away from you when they see you. So does the Quran not make sense? One verse says that they hear, another verse says that they don't hear. It's no contradiction. They hear you, but they're not listening. And that's the first thing you tell your son when you're reprimanding him. You hear me? You listening? You understand? Are you listening? Are you listening to me? You say that to him. And he has ears. There's nothing wrong. He doesn't have any hearing devices on. He can hear perfectly, but are you listening to me? Are you paying attention? So this is a very, very, very important concept of the circle of hadith. Next point we mentioned is what? Raf' al-yad al-yumna in the su'al. Is that if you want to ask a question, or if you want to give a benefit, never raise your left hand. Always raise your right hand. Never raise your left hand in the majlis. Many brothers, since they do this, they don't know any better, but it's not from the best etiquette. Always raise your right hand in a circle of hadith. And some of the Quran teachers, they even say that when you hold the mushaf and you're reading it or pointing to it, always use the right hand. Always use the right hand. Next point. عدم الإكثار من السؤال إلا أن يأذن الأستاذ بذلك. Do not ask too many questions unless the teacher allows it. If he doesn't mind, there's nothing wrong with it. But some teachers are different. Every teacher is different. Some people don't allow no questions, or only a few questions, or you're asking too many questions, or you're interjecting too much. And many brothers, they do this. Can I add something? Can I say something? Oh, Sheikh, I have something to say. And then they speak for 5 minutes. Are you asking a question, or are you telling us a benefit? And are you doing it once, twice, or over and over and over again? So these are some of the adab that I wrote down. And the ones that you guys mentioned, complete them as well. And there are others as well. Khayr, inshallah. Next point is adab wa ta'amal ma hadith al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or hadith al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sharifa. Is how to behave with the Prophet's honorable hadiths. Not a general circle, but a specific, what do you do when you hear the hadith? Number one, as-salatu was-salamu ala al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wal-ikthar min dhalika, is that you make an abundance of sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. An abundance of sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Don't just say it once. Don't just say it in the beginning of the majlis, but every time his name is mentioned, say it. Send prayers upon him, his family members, and the companions. Number two, ar-raghbatu fil amali biha, is that it should be your intention, your earnest intention to implement what you've heard. And don't take the hadiths as things that just sit on the shelf. Don't learn the hadiths just to say there's a hadith or for an argument. Many brothers, they do this. They only use the hadiths for arguments. A brother only brings up a hadith when he's trying to silence his wife. See, the hadith, the Prophet says you have to listen to me, you have to do that. But he has no intention of implementing a hadith when it comes to being a husband. And vice versa, women as well. Give me my rights, take care of me, do this, do that, so on and so forth, pay my bills. You have to do me, you can't do that. But you can't get married to another wife. You can't do that unless I give you permission. What hadith is that stated in? Is that mentioned that the Prophet says you can't get married until you first have to give you permission? Everyone understand this? And there are other things as well. Other issues as well, which the people only use hadiths when it's what? Convenient for them. When it's convenient for them. Point number three, hamlul ahadith ila ahsan al-mahalil, is when you hear a hadith, try your best to accept it and embrace it and interpret it the best way possible. The Prophet ﷺ, he makes a statement, don't rush to it being a controversial statement, or it doesn't make sense, or it's fabricated, or it's made up. That can't be true. The Prophet couldn't have said that, or that's not the right. Try your best to accept it in the best way possible. The best way possible. You hear the hadith, it's authentic. If you don't have the explanation of it, try your best to take a deep breath and make the comfortability in your heart, and not to go against it. What does that hadith mean? Or I don't know about that. Or try your best. And if you have a sincere intention, let alone getting a proper explanation of the hadith, it will help you out. It will help you out. Point number four, حسن الظن بها قال حسن الظن بها والمقصود منها, is to have the desire to learn the proper understanding of those hadiths. I have good thoughts of them now. What is meant by it? I need to know now. What is the explanation of this hadith? What do the scholars of Islam say about this? Hadith number 5. عَدَمُ الْقَنَاعَةِ بِالسَّمَاءِ الْقَلِيلِ مِنْهَا is never be pleased with just a few hadiths. Never be okay. Suffice yourself with just a few. You should be greedy. You should want to hear more and more and more and more. Give us more hadiths. Tell us more of them. Tell us more of the Prophet ﷺ's beautiful words. The last point is عَدَمُ ضَرْبِ الْأَمْثَالِ وَالْأَقِيسَةِ الْعَقْلِيَةِ لَهَا is do not make parables of the hadith. And do not make or place your human reasoning in front of the hadiths. Don't put your culture or science or technology or what you think in front of the hadith. This is what it says. This is what the scholars of Islam said for 1,000 years. They never interpreted like this in the modern day. So don't make those types of parables with regards to the hadith of the Prophet. These are just a few of the adab, and there are others with regards to the circle of hadith, and with regards to actually hearing the hadith of the Prophet, so leaving not in the class. You can be sitting at home or reading them yourself. Now let's get to 40 hadith of Nawawi. What do we know about this book? We'll take it from the floor. What do we know about this book? Give me anything you know about the book. What is 40 hadith of Nawawi? Anyone, anything you know about the book. If you raise your hand and said it's a book, that's a correct answer. That's a correct answer. We had teachers in Islamic University of Medina. They would give you a point just for putting something on the paper. And they would say, never leave the paper blank, ever. If you're unsure, write something. And they would give you a point. And you never know, huh? As they say, a lucky shot, right? Throw the punch. The corner men, they tell the fighter, right? The last few rounds, you gotta let the punches go. Don't look for that knockout punch. Don't look for that strategic punch. You gotta do what?
Let them go.
You gotta let them go. And you may what? It's a big possibility. You'll land a good shot. So never leave it blank, huh? Like, what do we know about 40 hadith? Tfadal,
40 hadiths out of thousands.
40 hadiths out of thousands, meaning that this is a summarized book. It's not all of the legacy.
Not all of them.
There are many other hadith. Right. Very good answer. Fadal Sheikh.
The author, remember Nawawi, died at a very young age, 45.
That the author An-Nawawi rahimahullah was young. So that means if he was young when he died, he had to be a prolific learner. And he had to be a prolific writer. Both. Many people, they only get to the point, oh, he was a good writer. That means he was a good learner. That means he started at a young age. And he was greedy as well. And he was talented and hardworking for him to produce all of those great works. And he was barely what? 50, 60, 70, 80, etc. Very good answer. Father Daqi.
It teaches you about Islam.
It teaches you about Islam. Beautiful answer. It teaches you about Islam. Islam is nothing more than the life of Muhammad. That's Islam. That is what Islam is how he lived and how he died, what he did, his legacy. Anything else?
Isn't it?
Fadal.
A lot of Salaf compiled books of 40 hadith based off of another hadith or athar that mentions the benefits of 40 hadith.
He says that many of the scholars of Islam of the past, they compiled books that included 40 hadiths. 40 hadiths on jihad. 40 hadiths on mercy. 40 hadiths on any subject. Ajza al-hadithiyah, whatever the subject may be. And they base it off of a narration. And that's a very interesting discussion. That hadith is extremely famous, but it isn't authentic. He who gathers 40 hadiths from my ummah will be resurrected on the day of judgment as a faqih. Khayran inshallah. Good answer. Any other answers or responses? Fadal.
Many of the hadith came from Bukhari and Muslim.
Many of them came from Bukhari and Muslim. So we learn two things from this, Shaykh. Two things. Point number one is that 40 hadith, if it's based off of something which is already strong, then that book is going to be strong as well. And vice versa. You build on mud, your foundation is going to be shaky and the building is going to be shaky. Number two, that goes to show us that 40 hadith of Nawawi is the canoe. It's the smaller boat that's coming from a what? A big ship. And 40 hadith of Nawawi is not an original hadith book. It is not an original hadith book, it's a compilation. So you don't say in a khutbah or in a paper, you don't say what? أخرجه النووي في الأربعين. Nawawi reported it in his 40. Collected by Nawawi in his 40. And many people, they do this. It's collected by Nawawi. No. You say collected by Tirmidhi, collected by Ahmed, collected by Bukhari. Because Nawawi rahimahullah took from those what? Those books. And another point that we can take from that answer, point number 3, is that the culture of compiling books of hadith should continue. And it should never be a thing like, khalas, we don't need to make our own version. Make more. Make more compilations of hadith. Just like Nawawi, he came 500 years and more than that, Tirmidhi, Bukhari, and he still did what? He compiled. So it's a constant evolution. The will isn't recreated, but the refinement of the will is never ending, making it a better will, cheaper to make, more efficient, drive over nails, more mileage. The will becomes what? Better and better. You don't have to reinvent the will, but you refine it. Right? What else do we know about this book? Further application.
Some of the books actually have more than 40 hadiths in them.
Some have more than 40. Nawawi's book itself is not 40. It's actually 42. Actually 42. Right? What else do we have? What else do we know?
It's the sharh, right?
Is it a sharh? Nah, just matan.
Just matan?
There are sharh. There are shurut. There is an explanation.
Okay.
But the original book was just nothing more than a what? A lean cut. No other what?
Explanation.
There's no other course. It's just a lean piece of meat on a plate. 42 hadiths. That's it. Nothing more. Right. Anything else you know about the book? Fadl.
From what I understand, that there are many books of 40 hadith for some reason that Allah Ta'ala gave this particular book a lot of barakah. People use this more than all the others. So there's more.
There are other books of hadith with 40. But for some reason, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He made this one stand out. He made it last and survive and become a wide circulation. Very good answer. And what do we benefit from that in 2019? What do I get from that in West Philadelphia on 68th Street? What do I get from that? I learned from that is never to look down upon myself and never to scorn myself. What good is me doing it, going overseas or studying a class or doing this or starting a class? Oh, he can do it, or he's done it already, or he wrote it already. I'm not old enough. I'm not Arab. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not that. Never scorn yourself. If you have sincere intentions, and if you work hard, and if you're talented, and you study long enough, you don't know what Allah can do for you. Do you think a Nawawi rahimahullah imagined United States, Canada, Australia? Do you think he imagined these countries in which his book will be explained and translated and memorized and quoted? Do you think he imagined his wildest dreams? He wrote the book. So the only thing that you have to do, as we always say, is enter the gates of Jerusalem. When you enter the gates of Jerusalem, you will be victorious. Allah told Musa and his people. Musa told his people, enter the gates. Don't worry about how big they are, how tough and how scary those soldiers are. Just enter the gates. Just do it. As they say, just what? Just do it. Don't ever scorn yourself. Play. Anything else you know about the book? Anything else? Fadl.
A lot of scholars, they do it just for the benefit, even though they know the hadith about it is da'if.
A concept of authenticity. They would mention hadith, so they would do it. They would compile it based off of that narration, even though the hadith isn't authentic, about the virtue of making a book in which you have 40 hadiths. Right, all good answers. I'll give one if you guys allow me to. A benefit is that Nawawi's book is considered to be a summary. It's a summary of another book. There was another scholar who came before him, Ibn al-Salah, rahimahullah, the famous author of the Muqaddimah. He made a majlis. They call it Majlis al-Imla. The translation of that word, or equivalent in English, is dictation. There's one thing which I'm just talking, I'm giving you hadiths, and there's another thing which I'm saying this slowly. Narrated, Abu Hurairah, the Messenger of Allah said, I'm allowing you to do what? To write it down. So this alim Ibn Salah rahimahullah came before Nawawi. He had a majlis of hadith in which he was dictating hadiths to his students. And he made many hadiths in which they collected. And Nawawi, he saw that the book was a bit too big and he wanted to trim it up and size it down and simplify it and make it easy. And that's when he came with his 42. And we benefit from that to realize and to understand is that 40 hadith Nawawi is a small step but a major step. So many brothers, when they first go overseas, or even in the United States, they learn a little bit and they become arrogant. They start sticking out their chests. I memorized 40 hadith. I know this. I know just. I know. So it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And you only realize that, Yahi, you're claiming to have caught a pigeon, if that. And there are people in the wilderness that are catching vultures, huge birds of prey. This is a small, tiny book. There's nothing for you to be arrogant and prideful of. But we all know the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind. And which people barely memorize one hadith, if you memorize 42. You understand this? But you go and meet someone who's really studied, and it's nothing at all. So Novi's book, which seems like a big thing, is actually what? A small thing. So we benefit not being arrogant. And we also benefit that you shouldn't look as it is an impossible task. It's easy. You can memorize 42 hadith if you think about it. If you memorize a hadith a week. How long does it take you to memorize one hadith? If you're actually trying hard, it doesn't take that long. You can do it. You can make a goal for yourself. Tayyib. Moving forward, another interesting fact of Nawawi's 40 hadith is that every hadith in that book, according to him, the author, is considered authentic. Every hadith in that book, according to him, is Sahih or Hasan, at least. So that is a tremendous benefit for a layman Muslim, or a beginner student of knowledge, or an imam or a khatib who doesn't have access to bigger works, or he isn't trained in certain things. I need a khutbah to do today, and I want to talk about brotherhood. I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that. Open up for the hadith. I got the hadith, I got the explanation. I don't have to go, is it da'if, is it sahih? No, we said it's authentic. What did the other scholars say? That's not important to a beginner or a layman person. Nawawi is a reliable source. And many people don't understand that Nawawi considered his book to be totally authentic. Every hadith in that book is authentic according to what? To Nawawi, and not other scholars. But he himself considers it to be authentic. Everyone understand this? Another very interesting point is that there is a completion to the book. There's a completion to the book. And whenever you want to look at a saga, you look at before and you always look at after. You want to judge or gauge something, look at what it took from, what influenced it, and what it influenced. Everyone understand this? You look at a scholar, the first question is, where did he learn from? And how great was this scholar? Who did he? No.
Teach.
Influence and teach. Not just teach, but what? Influence. A saga. Generations. Is the grandfather? Is the father? Grandson. Everyone understands? A trilogy. You understand this? So the scholars who came after Nawawi, before the book was in English, before the book was like this and like that, they completed his work. They completed his work. And this also goes to show you that Islamic scholarship is never ending and is never dust in the Islamic world of knowledge. There's no such thing as that's enough. Khalas, just leave it alone. No. There's always refinement, as I said. And that scholar who did that was Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, who died roughly 200 years after Nawawi, roughly 795. I don't know him. He died a good amount of years after Nawawi. He made 8 hadiths to complete the 42 to 50. He made a compilation of 50 hadiths. Not 42, not 40, but what? 50. And then he explained it in an exhaustive explanation. Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam fi sharhi 50 hadithan min jawami al-kalim. And alhamdulillah, the book is in English. And that's one of the best books, period. Arabic or English. And there's no reason why a student of knowledge shouldn't have read the book several times. Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam. Type. And then many other benefits and fawaid as well with regards to Nawawi. We want to stop here, and hopefully in our next class, which will be announced when it will be, we will mop up and wrap up this and most likely get started in the actual explanation of the book. A few pointers that I want to mention before I stop. First and foremost is, if you have the ability to bring the text of the book, then please do so. Please do so. A good idea, maybe we can share a link and we can have a PDF or print it out, and we can have one copy of the book with the proper vowels, because there are different versions of the book. Bring a notebook, bring a pen, inshallah, and those who wish to memorize the book and recite it and go over it, bi'idhnillah, we hope that at the end of the 42 hadiths, there'll be some type of certification, some type of certificate that you receive, in which you have something tangible to walk away with, and you've successfully completed the study of this book. So that's our goal, to have an exam and have some type of ijazah, quote unquote, at the end of the sitting. So those brothers or sisters who are interested in that, those are the conditions. You have to bring the book, you have to bring the necessary material, and you have to memorize it. You have to memorize it and take the exam at the end, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you very much. Fadl, Sheikh? Fadl.
When you say memorize, are you memorizing the hadith?
Just the matan, yeah. Just the hadith.
Okay.
The sharh and everything you don't have to memorize, but there will be some type of evaluation. And also some type of, like a study guide they will make at the end of every class, questions to make it easy for you to go home and review. And of course you have the recording. And you have the what? The old recordings as well, as we said. And Allah knows best. Jazakumullah khairan. Inshallah, before we start for the adhan, we'll take some questions. And also, if there's enough time, after Isha, I don't mind taking some questions for brothers and sisters. Please, if you have a question, don't be shy. If the sisters wish to ask, they could write them down or text your husband or your son or your brother or whoever's up here. And inshallah ta'ala, no one is being deprived or forgotten with regards to asking the question. And if there aren't any questions, then we'll take some from the people online. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you for your attention. Fadl Sheikh.
Yeah, what's your website you been giving, brother?
The website,
Yes.
you can go to HadithDisciple.com. HADITH, Hadith Disciple, DISCIPLE.com. And that will take you to the YouTube page and the playlist. I've shared them. Inshallah, I'll send the links to a few more brothers. They'll send them to you of the specific playlists, which we went over the hadiths, and there's also the audio as well. The proper recitation of it is on the channel as well for ease, inshallah. So if you go on YouTube, just type in the word hadith, disciple will automatically come up in a suggestion bar or box or thingy, whatever they call it, inshallah. Fadl.
This question is now about the classes. One I
Fadl.
saw you with a brush.
Toothbrush. Tahir.
I went to the wisdom behind it.
Question says, I saw you with a toothbrush. What's the wisdom behind that? Perhaps you're talking about this? Tahir. The wisdom behind this is, to me, this is my miswak. This is my miswak. And a miswak does not have to be a piece of wood. It doesn't have to be from a tree. That was the old Arabian toothbrush. Just like they have old toothpicks. They didn't have the specific toothpicks they would go on a date palm tree. You ever see a date palm tree? And certain types, there are different types. If you notice carefully, there's some that have very, very sharp spikes on them. I'm not talking about part of the wooden bark, but it's a thin yellow spike and it's very pointy. It's dangerous. You could poke someone if you had to. It's a weapon. But they would use it for what? It's a toothpick. Let alone the actual miswak on the actual teeth. Okay? So a miswak is anything that you use to clean your teeth. Whether it's a piece of wood, a piece of cotton. Some of the ulama even say al-isbi' al-khashina. If you had a coarse finger, like them brothers who work construction. You know, some brothers' hands you shaking is what? It's like a sandpaper, right? No? It's coarse. So a miswak can be anything. So me personally, sometimes I have the actual wooden one, the traditional one, and sometimes I carry this. It's easy, I can wash it. It doesn't get mildew or smell. It's convenient, it's simple, it's hygienic. So I try myself to implement the sunnah and hopefully try not to be hypocritical in this issue. Unfortunately, many other issues we're hypocritical in. We tell the people to do certain things, fear Allah, do this, and we fall short ourselves. But we try to implement some things from the sunnah. So that this is my toothstick. Some brothers may laugh or they may think it's weird, but if you think about it, I always have my miswak with me. Before wudu, before sleep, before you read the Quran, before you enter your house, before you make salat, etc. Wallahu a'lam. And I also think, last but not least, is that this is a major manifestation of the proper philosophy of every Muslim. The Muslim should have. It's East meets West. Old school with the new school. The modern technology with the ancient values. Everyone understand this? The modern technology with the what? With the ancient values. And we know that when these two things are combined, it's a very, very powerful product. And one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world today. And one of the worlds that contributes and produces so much to technology today is Japan. And if you read the history of Japan, you know that many years Japan was sealed off from the rest of the world. They had extreme xenophobia. They didn't like no foreigners or Westerners. No one was allowed to trade or to come into their country. And we know that those European powers, they forced their way into Japan. You either open up your doors for trade, or we release these naval guns upon you. And obviously, people, they differ. What should we do? Should we go out to the barbarians and trade with them or not? Fight with them, etc. And there were some people who broke the rules and they snuck out to them and made contact with them. And they said that they brought with them a small model of a train, a locomotive. And they brought it to the emperor of Japan and they put it in front of him. And some people laughed and made fun of it. But he sat down and he started asking questions about it. And he told them how big the real thing is and what it does and how powerful it is. And he made the decision to allow them in. So what happened? They made a rapid transformation. It wasn't like China, in which they were French. No, they were sealed off. And one of their main points of their advance, the advance that they made, it says what? Japanese spirit with Western technology. Japanese spirit, all the old ancient stuff, the philosophy of the old, but the modern means. And the video games that you're playing, the phone that you're using, this thing, that thing, came from that what? That mentality. So we need that in this masjid, every masjid, old school with the new school, not versus. East and West, what?
Come together.
Merge together. The old spirit with the new modern what?
Technology.
Wallahu alam. It's time for the adhan? So, inshallah, we'll pause for the adhan. Inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan. After the adhan or salat, we'll take questions. Inshallah. What time is the iqamah?
We can right after.
Sorry.